Welcome to SUAANGAN. I'm your host, Janine Blake. On last week's program, we brought you part 2 of a regional justice conference that was held here at the Midnight Sun Recreation Complex in Inuvik. On today's program, we'll be looking at more presentations. We'll also be speaking with the youth that sits on the youth panel here in Inuvik, and we'll look at some of the community reports from the outlying communities' Justice Committee members. The Beaufort Delta region is comprised of 8 communities: Inuvik, Aklavik, Tuk, Fort McPherson, Sigachik, Paulatuk, Sax Harbor, and Holman. Each of the communities sent an elder, a youth, and representatives to the Justice Conference.
Welcome to the third and final day of our Restorative Justice Conference.
John Nash is the coordinator for the Inuvik Justice Committee. He was one of the organizers of the conference.
The theme for our conference is Restorative Justice, a Community Perspective. And hopefully, over the next 3 days, you guys can take back some information to your communities on how to start up justice committees, or if you have one that's already functioning, how to keep it going.
Presentation 12 was given by Judge Brian Bruiser, Amanda Johns, and Dennis Stosidel on the Student Disposition Panel, starting a youth panel in your community.
This is called a Student Disposition Panel. And we draw it from the high school here, and if you get this started in your communities, you will get a better sense of how it works, and I think it works pretty well. Now, Dennis and Amanda really are the backbone of this talk. I think I'm going to do most of the talking, but they're the backbone of it, and they got these purple cards here, and you'll know what I mean in a moment. They know how youth panels work. I know a little bit about how they work, but I don't know everything about how they work. They do some of their things behind closed doors, and they do other things at the high school. I don't get behind the closed doors, and I don't get into the high school on an often enough basis to fully understand what happens there. Now, if you are thinking of starting a youth panel in your community, you need to know what the responsibilities are. You need to know the mechanics of how they operate. From my perspective, the beauty of the youth panel is that it offers a fresh perspective to what the judges try to do in youth court. It brings community justice closer to the court and then, therefore, to the community. And that's what it's about. It's about community input into the justice system. I can't imagine any youth panel operating without the close cooperation of the principal of the school. Carson Atkinson is the high school principal here, and because of his strong and continuing support, we are able, each time the youth court sits, as long as the students are not writing exams or as long as school is in session, they are able to bring 12 people over to the courtroom to be part of the panel. But this panel of 12 people is part of a pool. The youth panel does not decide if people, young offenders, are guilty or not guilty. They don't do that. Another thing they don't do is they don't actually sentence young offenders. They don't replace the youth court judge. You have to understand that youth court is where people age 12 up until they are about to turn 18 come for court. Once they turn 18, they are adults in the eyes of the criminal law. And in adult court, it's a whole different operation than youth court.
When SUAANGAN returns after these messages, we'll bring you more of the Regional Justice Conference. We're back with the Beaufort Delta Regional Justice Conference that was held here in Inuvik.
The role of the youth panel is to provide recommendations to the court about a sentencing. That is the role. And I will explain in a moment what I mean by recommendations and how that connects to what the judge does in court. In Inuvik, the panel, and this is why we have 12, they will sit in the jury box, where in adult court, a jury of 12 people would sit. So we don't have room for 13 or more. They sit in that box because from that box, for those of you who have visited the court here in Inuvik, they get a bird's eye view of what and everything that is happening in the courtroom, right from the judge right to the public gallery area. Before each session of the youth court, at about 1 o'clock, court begins at 1:30, I meet with the group that are there for the day. So I meet with them in the jury room, and I try to talk to the panel members about things that they want to know about. Usually what much of the language is about, what the words mean, things like custody, open custody, closed custody, proof beyond a reasonable doubt, all of that kind of thing. I said I would talk a little bit about the recommendations that they make. They make recommendations that they think, in their view, amount to a proper sentence for the young people who are about to be sentenced. And they make the recommendations for sentences that may be under the Criminal Code of Canada, bylaws of the town or the hamlet, and territorial legislation like the Motor Vehicles Act and the Liquor Act, to name a couple. What the panel does in the jury room after I send them out and after they have listened to everything in the courtroom, they listen to what the lawyers have to say and everything that's going on. Recommendations they make then are made after they come back from that room. It does not have to be unanimous. It just has to be a majority recommendation. The judge, the youth court judge, does not have to accept the recommendations of the panel. I normally accept most, if not all, of what they have to recommend. And the panel has always been very gracious about accepting that their recommendations may not be completely put into effect. And it's the same thing with an adult justice committee. If they are in court and make recommendations, I don't always accept all of what they have to recommend. And as with the youth panel, the adult justice committees are very good at accepting this. Now, how might you go about starting up a youth panel? I have a number of ideas for you. These are not etched in stone. Do what you want to do what you have to do. But here are some thoughts. And to begin with, you may want to talk to the chair or the coordinator of the Community Justice Committee. If you have the Justice Committee on side, as has been the case in Inuvik, then you are well on your way. Talk to the judge who usually comes to your community. Normally that will be myself or Judge Brassa. Brassa, Bruiser, people get that mixed up. You know, they really do a lot. Now, how might you go about starting up a youth panel? I have a number of ideas for you. These are not etched in stone. Do what you want to do what you have to do. But here are some thoughts. And to begin with, you may want to talk to the chair or the coordinator of the Community Justice Committee. If you have the Justice Committee on side, as has been the case in Inuvik, then you are well on your way. Talk to the judge who usually comes to your community. Then you have to get back to the principal. I mentioned the principal earlier. Talk to the principal, meet with her, meet with him, and probably the principal will be supportive. With the principal on side and the committee on side and the judge on side, there's not much more to do. Then what you do is you go over to the school and meet with the principal or with the teacher who will be in charge of the panel and see if you can draw a pool of people in the school from which you can draw a panel each time. That's about it from my perspective. I'll now ask Amanda and Dennis. So
we're here to talk to you about starting a youth panel in your own community, starting with how the pool is selected, how the students hear about the panel.
You have to have students to have your youth panel. In Inuvik, our youth panel consists of senior high students, that's grades 10 to 12. Anybody can sign up to go to serve on the youth panel, but only those who are in good standing, that is, they have no outstanding detentions, they're caught up in their work, they have their teacher's permission, are allowed to go. In Inuvik, there are quite a few students that would like to go to the Youth Judicial Advisory Committee panels, so the students are rotated every time that there is a need for a youth panel. So a different combination of students will go every single time.
How the students hear about the pool? Well, it's always announced on the announcements frequently. And students also may read about it in the local paper.
The fact that the senior high students realize how important youth court is. They don't treat it very lightly. Interactions between the offenders and the panel, I've not heard of anything going wrong. Nobody treats anybody differently or badly, because the fact is that those offenders have been in school with them before they saw them in court, and now they're in school after they've saw them in court, and there's not much of a difference. Biased recommendations, they are pretty much non-existent, because when you have 12 students that are randomly picked by the school principal, there will be those that are friends of theirs and those that are not friends of theirs, and it just creates an even balance.
Well, honestly, at first, I heard you're going to get out of school, so then yeah, I thought, sure, yeah, why not? I would get out of school. But then it ended up to be pretty fun and nice, and yeah, I enjoy it. So.
When SUAANGAN returns after these messages, we'll bring you more of the Regional Justice Conference. We're back with the Beaufort Delta Regional Justice Conference that was held here in Inuvik. As Day 3 began, the communities of Aklavik and Tuck gave their Justice Committee reports. Roxanne John is a representative of the Aklavik Justice Committee, and she gave a part of the report.
On behalf of our committee of Aklavik, we don't have much to say, but that we're just starting up a new committee. So far we have 6 members, and the door is open for more. And I think what we need to do is, I guess, meet as a committee, decide what we're going to do, hire a coordinator. And I'd just like to commend Peter Lanning at this time for getting the committee up and running. I guess in the past, a few of the members of Aklavik tried to strike a committee, but it didn't work. So hopefully we'll start on the right track this time.
I'm going to make a presentation here for the community of Holman. They have an up and running Justice Committee. And the community of Holman has been considering the impact of the present justice system has on the people of the community. The community is developing their own constitution in preparation for self-government. We find the present system of justice does not work well and does nothing to address the problems that keep repeating the same issues. Holman people would like to see the system of justice that reflects the values of the people in the area where they live. We are presenting today suggestive changes that could be negotiated in the self-government agreement. We have them laid out here in several points, which I'll lay out to you now. Point 1, we find a problem with spousal abuse. In most cases, the person that has been abused is removed from the home and the abuser is sent to jail. We are suggesting that the abuser be removed and a mandatory program of anger management and support be done in the community. Point 2, people that have been charged of an alleged offense have no real representation to help them understand their rights as a citizen of Canada. No one represents them when they are charged, and in most cases, their appointed lawyer has a face-to-face conversation just before the case is heard in court. The community needs a local representative who can be trained in basic legal procedures and have access to lawyers who can instruct them on how to proceed and represent people charged with an offense. Point 3, reasonable time. The time from when a person is charged until they appear in court is sometimes very long, 6 months or more. Our Charter of Rights and Freedoms say that everyone should be tried within a reasonable time. One possible solution could be to increase the program of justice with the justice of the peace in the different levels so they can at least address some of it. Point 4, community services. Community services should be working together with the Justice Committee so everyone is aware of the problems and can harmonize together. Point 5, education. The basic principles of our justice system can be confusing to most people, and we find there is not enough information to people in simple terms how the system works and why. If you don't understand the system can't work for you. And we suggest, which I guess we're all here about today, it's a pilot project for the community of Holman and other communities. And the project basically is to reflect the cultural values of the area represented, restorative justice. The system has been used in other parts of North America with success and can be used with first-time offenders and to help our young people from repeating their mistakes.
I've been working in Inuvik with the Inuvik Justice Committee since August of '99. When I first started, there wasn't many volunteers with our committee. We were probably down to 6 people, and a lot of the emphasis we had to place at first was the recruitment of volunteers. One of the challenges that I have, I guess, had when I came here was we have 2 ways of getting referrals from for diversion, and one way is a pre-charge, one way is a post-charge, and I found that we were getting the majority of our referrals for diversion through a post-charge method, and the way that we prefer and the way it's easier for everybody is of course pre-charge. So this year, just recently before Christmas, I met with the staff sergeant over at the RCMP office, And we developed a promise to appear form for Justice Committee. So from now on, all our referrals for Justice Committee will come as a pre-charge referral only. And we have an agreement reached with the RCMP saying that we will set all agreements for diversion to a period of 3 months for pre-charge. And that's the agreement that we have reached.
This is my second year on Justice Committee, and the last year we did a lot with our coordinator. She was really involved with us with everything, giving us a lot of information. Another thing that we did too was last year when Judge Brewster come to the community, we have lunch. We have lunch with him. Somebody has to cook a meal and we get together with him. We do have lunch with him, and that's where we could ask him a lot of questions that we want to know. The Crown lawyer, who is involved in a court party attend. Sometimes we have the police attend too, and the court workers, all that attend. And one of the things that we did the past year was in the summer, we had a lot of kids go out on the land with elders or with people that go out on the land. And that was it was really good, and they just mix the children. Anybody that wanted to go went, because we mixed them. It wasn't just the bad kids that went out, it was mixed, you know. And I think that's what we have to do.
We've been running for about 10 years, and right now we have 4 members. We've had 17 referrals from the Territorial Court and 6 from the RCMP, so in total, the Justice Committee has seen 23 clients. Also, the coordinator attends court whenever we have Territorial Court, which is almost every 6 weeks in Tuktoyaktuk. We are trying to start a youth parent group, and we're looking at that to have it every Wednesdays and Sundays from 7 to 9. We're trying to set up some sort of thing for family counseling so we can approach our clients in a holistic way. And of course, like everybody said yesterday, we do need more funding.
The current justice system is not designed to assist the offender to understand how the crime affects victims and their families. It does not assist the victim in finding closure and justice. The current system does not reflect Indigenous Aboriginal values. The community justice system focuses on restorative justice. It focuses on bringing the victim and the offender together to talk about the effects of the crime. That was our program for this week. Thank you for watching SUAANGAN. I'm your host, Janine Blake, and I'll see you next week.